Juventus over a £40 million deal for Jadon Sancho. Shock approach for Fulham left-back Antonee Robinson, and what is really going on with Manuel Ugarte. These are some of the stories we will be discussing on this morning's live show. But before we get into that, please do me a small favour, smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 1,000 likes on this episode. And if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe to the channel. We're just about to hit 39,000 subscribers. So if this is your first time watching, make sure you get involved. I'm live at 8:30, 1:30 and 6 p.m. every single day. Right, let's get straight on into it then. First of all, I want to bring you some 100% confirmed news and kind of give my opinion on it and all the rest of it. And that is about SEO Con. So this was confirmed last night and it kind of came out of nowhere. So this is coming from Fabrizio Romano, and he is reporting that Manchester United have agreed a deal to sign SEO Con, £1 million transfer fee plus several add-ons based on performance. He says he's a 2006-born Mali international talent considered a smart investment by Ineos. He says the deal is 100% agreed and done. Documents will be signed and medical will be booked for next week. Now, I went and did some research on this player yesterday because I'll be honest, until this story came out, I'd never heard of him. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. He's 18 years of age. Obviously, as I said, plays for the Mali national team. He currently plays in Mali as well. All right, let me just get up his stats for you guys. Right, here we go. So, yeah, 18 years of age. He plays predominantly as a defensive midfielder. One of those players who is really, really regarded as, in his age group, one of the most exciting central defensive midfielders. Apparently, he's going to go into the under-21s, which is obviously the team directly below the first team, but with an eye to come into the first team in the next couple of years. Now, this signing for me, right, almost reminds me of when Moises Caicedo moved to Brighton. It feels like a kind of similar deal. At that point, Moises Caicedo was relatively unknown. A little bit more known than this guy, to be fair, but still, it was like a player who had massive potential, moved from, I think he was playing in Ecuador, over to Brighton, went there, did amazingly well. And then obviously, yeah, the rest is history. He moved to Chelsea for, I think, 115 million euros or something crazy. Now, from what I've seen, the clips, the scout reports I've read, like, this guy definitely has the potential to be good enough to play for Manchester United, He's not going to go straight into the first team. He will be in the under-21s to begin with. But there's a lot of hype around this guy, a lot of potential. So I'm really, really excited to see how this one materialises. The medical will be apparently next week. It is a confirmed deal. That's what Fabrizio said. £1 million transfer fee, which isn't really that much, is it, in the grand scheme of things? And it does seem like really, really clever business. So, yeah, really happy about that one. Let me know your thoughts. If anybody in the chat knows anything more about this player, please do let me know. I'd be interested to get some other opinions on it. So, yeah, go and let me know in the comment section if you know much about SEO Con. But welcome, SEO Con. New signing at Manchester United. We've got some really good young players that we've signed this summer, haven't we? Obviously, we've signed Chido Obi-Martin. We've now got SEO Con. Obviously, Lenny Yoro. Like, we've signed some really, really decent young players, so I'm pretty happy about that. But let's move on from that, though, and let's jump on over to Jadon Sancho then, because obviously this is the big story of the day. This is the one that everybody probably wants to talk about. So this is coming out from Damasio. It's coming out from Fabrizio. It's coming out from multiple different people. I'll start with Damasio. So Damasio is reporting today. Let's start with Fabrizio, actually. So Fabrizio says Manchester United consider the Jadon Sancho situation open ahead of the final week of the transfer window. He says that Juventus have now made fresh contact with Manchester United and Jadon Sancho's camp, as he's still one of the main targets on their list. So the situation here, right? Obviously, they've got Federico Chiesa. Federico Chiesa is about to leave Juventus. I think I read that apparently Inter Milan are trying to buy Federico Chiesa. So Federico Chiesa's going. I don't know why. I think he had a bit of a poor season last year, but he's on his way out. And it looks like they want to sign Jadon Sancho as his replacement. I mean, it sounds like a good deal for Juventus, if they let rid of Chiesa and bring in Sancho. And how I can see this deal working, right? Federico Chiesa's on quite big wages. He's on about 200 grand a week. Jadon Sancho's on 250 grand a week. So you can kind of see where they're getting the money from. They sell Chiesa They save the wages that they were paying Chiesa, and then they give those wages to Jadon Sancho. It does kind of make logical sense. So that was the first bit on Jadon Sancho. That was coming out from Fabrizio. And then Damasio, in the last couple of hours, has said that Juventus are looking at a loan with a £40 million obligation to buy with Manchester United for Jadon Sancho. Now, the question I've got for you is this, right? How much do you think Jadon Sancho is worth? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think 40 million would be a good price? I personally would be happy with that. I think obviously it's less than what we paid for him, but the thing we have to remember is, right, all of these transfers are done over the length of the contract usually. So in Jadon Sancho's case, we paid 73 million for him 3 seasons ago, right? So I worked this all out yesterday because I'm quite interested in all of the finance side of things, because I think people look at just like the headlines and don't delve deep into the actual, the bits behind it. So we paid 73 million for Jadon Sancho. I found out that deal was spread across a 5-year period, right? We've had him for 3 years. So far, Manchester United have paid £43.8 million to Dortmund. That's how much we've paid for Jadon Sancho. So that's gone. You can't get that money back. And then the total transfer fee was 73 million. So we owe Dortmund at the moment £29.2 million for Jadon Sancho, right? So if we sold him for 40 million, we could give Dortmund their 29.2 million back, and we would make, how much would we make? We'd make about 10.8 million. Does that make sense? That's how you have to work out transfers, because the money that we've already spent is gone. That's already been sent off in that year's accounts. So it's kind of irrelevant now. The last 3 years, the money we've spent to Dortmund will already be accounted for. That will be, when every year we find out how much money Manchester United have made and they say, oh, it's a record turnover, whatever. That cost will already be part of that figure. So that money's effectively gone, and it doesn't affect our financial fair play anymore, because financial fair play is done, in a certain period. So we only owe Dortmund at the moment about 29.2 million, give or take, around that figure. So say 29. And if we got 40 million for him, that means, we'd bank about 11 million profit at the moment, based on how much we have to pay Dortmund and how much we'd receive. So 40 million isn't actually terrible, really, because it allows us to pay off the money we owe Dortmund, allows us to remove Jadon Sancho, who I think is toxic, to be honest, and it allows us to save his wages, which are absolutely massive. I think he's on 250k a week, which over the course of a year is around 13 million pounds a season. So if you think that we've got 2 more years of Jadon Sancho, 13 million pounds a season, that's 26 million pounds we'd save. Plus, we'd make about 11 million pounds versus what we owe Dortmund. So overall, the package is more like, it's about 37 million that we'd get, if that makes sense. If you include the wages, you include the profit from the transfer fee that we'll make. So overall, I think it's pretty decent. It would allow us to go and sign another player as well, because obviously, saving 250 grand a week, I imagine Man United wouldn't go and spend 250 grand a week on another winger. They'd look for someone on lower wages, someone a little bit more up and coming, someone more in the kind of vein of a Xerxes or a Højlund or a Lenny Yoro, like somebody under the age of 25. I don't know who it would be, though, and that's a question that I wanted to ask you this morning. Like, if Jadon Sancho was to leave Manchester United, right, which looks quite likely at the moment, Erik ten Hag said yesterday that he might not even be in the squad on the weekend, and that, he can only pick 21 players, and he wasn't very positive about Jadon Sancho in his press conference yesterday. So if Jadon Sancho was to go, what would you do? Who would you bring in? Now, I've said this many, many times before, and I'm going to stick with my opinion, because obviously everyone can have a different opinion. That's the beauty of football, isn't it? We can all have different opinions, but I personally think that we need another striker, to be honest. So I think the left-hand side, Garnacho and Rashford, I think that's fine. No problems there. Right-hand side, you've got Ahmad and Antonee. I think that's fine. And obviously Bruno can play on the right as well at a push. I think Mason Mount played on the right for Chelsea as well. So we have options in that wing position. Whereas in the striker area, obviously Højlund's out until after the international break, which is October, I think. And Xerxes obviously in his first season, so, he's not going to probably... maybe he does get 20, 30 goals this season, Xerxes, but I think like a realistic expectation for Xerxes would be maybe 15 goals this season, kind of similar to what Højlund did last year. That would be my expectation for Xerxes. So with that in mind, I think if we were to sell Jadon Sancho, I would be looking to bring in another striker. maybe someone who's versatile, someone who can play across the whole of the front three. That would probably be the ideal situation, but it's just working out who that player is. And that's what I wanted to spend this part of the show talking to you guys about. And I want you to get your comments in. I want you to let me know in the comment section, if Manchester United sell Jadon Sancho, what should they do with the money? Who should we go for? Let me know in the comments. Richard says, but we have Chido Obi Martin. Chido Obi Martin hasn't actually signed yet. He is coming to Manchester United, but at the moment there's some sort of legal battle going on between Arsenal and Man United over a compensation package. So I don't think we can rely on him yet, seeing as he's technically not actually signed yet. But yeah, get your comments in. We've got over 1,300 people watching live now, which is amazing. If everyone could do me a small favour and hit the like button. We've only got 200 likes, so if everyone who's watching now likes the video, we will hit our target of 1,000. And if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe as well. We're literally just about to hit 39,000 subscribers. So let's try and hit that by the end of today's video. Remember, once we hit 40K, I'll be doing a giveaway, a competition for 2 brand new Manchester United shirts. So please go and subscribe if you haven't already. Get involved. Everyone is welcome. But yeah, my answer for this is we sell Jadon Sancho. I think we do need another attacking player. I would personally go for somebody who can operate as either a left winger, a striker, or a right winger. That would be my preference. And I'm just trying to think who that person would be. I don't think we need like an out-and-out striker. Like someone like Antonee would be interesting, but obviously he can only play as a striker. Some people have said to me before that they think that Xerxes could play on the wing and Højlund could play on the wing, but I think that's maybe a bit of a push. Somebody in the chat is saying we need a new striker. Some people are saying, let's do a poll. This is a really good question. Let's do this. Do Manchester United need a third striker to challenge for the title? Let's do it like that. Because it all depends on what your kind of expectations are. I personally think that if Manchester United want to compete with Man City, want to compete with Arsenal, we need another striker. Personally, that's my opinion. Obviously, you can have a differing opinion. I've set up a poll, so if you want to have your say, you can do that. Obviously, our strikers at the moment are Højlund, who I'm not going to brandish him as injury prone yet, but I'm saying that he does seem to get a lot of injuries, Højlund. That's a fact. He came to Manchester United, he was injured for like a month, he came back and then he had a hamstring injury and now he's got the same hamstring injury again. So he definitely does have a bit of a problem. Yeah, he does seem to have a little bit of a problem with injuries, Højlund, doesn't he? Whereas I think Joshua Xerxes, as far as I can see, he doesn't have injury problems, but we'll wait and see. So yeah, you can get in the comment section. You can let me know. If Jadon Sancho leaves, who would you sign as his replacement? Al says, I would swap Sancho for Lavia at Chelsea. That would be interesting. I quite like the sound of that. I mean, he's not an attacking player, but somebody in the chat saying, what about Jonathan David? Jonathan David's an out-and-out striker, right? As far as I'm aware. Let me just check. As far as I'm concerned, he is just a striker, but I might be wrong. I didn't think he could play on the wing. No. Jonathan David can play as a centre-forward, a striker, and attacking midfielder. I just still really feel like we need someone who can operate across the whole of that front three. And I can't really think of that many players who can do that well. Obviously, like João Felix was a prime example of a player who can play as a striker and a winger as well. But obviously, he's gone to Chelsea, so that's not really an option. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. That's why I wanted to ask you, because I wanted to see what other people were thinking. I think Erik ten Hag seems to like versatile players. Mazraoui can play as a centre-back, a right-back, a left-back, and a CDM. Obviously, you know, a lot of the signings we're looking to do at the moment seem to be players who are versatile, seem to be players who can operate in one or two different positions. And I think that if we were to sign another attacking player, like, the last thing we want is another Antonee, a one-footed player who can only play on the right wing. Like, that, we do not want that again. You know, we need someone who can play in any of those positions. Our Ant says, why don't we try and swap Sancho for Cole Palmer? Oh, mate, that would be amazing. I'd love that. You know, Cole Palmer is a United fan as well. The likelihood of that happening, though, is probably zero. Somebody says, stop talking about Rasmus injuries. Fake news. How is that in any way fake news? Rasmus Højlund is literally injured until October. Did Rasmus Højlund play against Fulham? Is he in the squad for the game against Brighton? Like, I don't know. Like, all you have to do is go and look at Højlund's injury record, right? All I'm saying is, right, this is the thing that people need to focus on. Manchester United finished 8th last season, okay? What do you want from Manchester United? You want them to win the league. You want them to win the Champions League, right? And the point I'm making is, I don't think with Højlund and Xerxes as our two options up front, we will do that. I don't think we'll bridge the gap, personally. That's my opinion. I might be wrong. And that's not me criticising Højlund and Xerxes. Like, that's just merely saying that they're both young players who are at the beginning of their career, really. You know, they've not played for any big clubs before. They played, obviously, Xerxes played for Bayern, but in like the youth team. Højlund had one season in Serie A. I'm saying that if Man United want to bridge that gap, we scored hardly any goals last season. Like, yeah, I'm just having a look here. Højlund missed 15 games through injury last season at the age of 20. That is quite a lot. And obviously he's injured now and he's not going to be back until October. So that's all the point I'm making here. And every single injury that he's had has been a hamstring injury, apart from the back injury that he had at the beginning of last season. So that's all I'm saying. All I'm giving my opinion on is what I think Manchester United need to get into a position, to challenge, to find their way up to the top of the league. Let's see what people... Alex says Højlund should be back in a couple of weeks. Apparently he's back after the international break, which is at the beginning of... I think the international break is in October. Gono says, as long as Rasmus has that back problem, then the hamstring injury won't go away. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, okay? So I'm not going to comment on like people's injuries and all the rest of it. I don't know. All I look at is what the injury was, how many games they've missed, and then I give an opinion. So I don't know, Højlund's medical history or any of that stuff. Royden says, but Højlund played 42 games last season. Yeah, he did play quite a lot of games last season. He did. But if anything, that kind of backs up my point even more. You know? He played 42 games last season, and at large points of that, he was probably playing for injuries. He was probably, pushing himself, even though he should have been resting. Yeah, so we'll wait and see what happens. But I do still think we need another attacking player. Obviously, the midfield is the priority. Obviously, we need a left back. We need a midfielder. But somebody says the Højlund injury is 6 weeks since pre-season. I don't think he's back in training though, mate. Pre-season was like a month ago. And as well, you've got to remember that these injuries that they report on, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be back in exactly 6 weeks. You know, it might be longer, it might be less. Like, we have to wait and see. But Macmillan says, what about Patrick Schick? I don't really know much about Patrick Schick, to be honest. Moses has said a really good question. Moses said, do you think we have a better team this season compared to last season? Do I think we have a better team this season than last season? I think defensively we do. Obviously signing De Ligt, Lenny Yoro and Mazraoui, whatever he's called. I think defensively, yes. Midfield, I would say, is worse than last season at the moment, because obviously we let Amrabat go and haven't signed a midfielder yet. Attacking-wise, I would say probably the same as last season, to be honest. We've got 2 strikers, and we had 2 strikers last season. So I'd say our defence is better, our midfield is the same, and our attack is the same. That's my opinion. So overall, are we better than we were last season? I mean, defensively, yes, massively. Midfield, I'd say we're worse. And attack, I would say we are the same. That's my opinion. So I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question. It's kind of hard. I can't really look at it at the whole... You need to look at it at individual bits, don't you? You know? Our left-back position is the same. We've not really strengthened there. Centre-backs is much better. Right-back is better with Mazraoui. Midfield is worse because we've lost Amrabat. Attacking-wise is pretty much the same because we've signed a striker and we let Martial go. And wingers-wise is the same. Or maybe worse, actually, because we've obviously lost Pellistri now and signed no one. Pellistri was available last season. So I think at the end of the window, though, our team will be much better. Somebody says, how is the attack the same? Well, if you look at it, right, you've got to look at it like for like. So we had Martial last season, and now we have Xerxes. Obviously, that's an improvement. But Højlund's injured at the moment. So you can't... At the moment, we have one striker. Last season, we had one striker. And we've lost Pellistri. And Pellistri did play some minutes last season. So we have one less winger, and we have the same amount of strikers. So when you look at it like that, on paper, it's either the same... I wouldn't say it's better. But you can't honestly tell me it's better. We've lost Pellistri. And he was a player that did play last season. And we haven't brought in anybody in that area. Right? That is the right decision, though, to move on Pellistri. I'm not complaining that Pellistri's gone. I'm happy that Pellistri's gone. I think it's the right thing for his career. But I'm just saying, if you look at it from a squad depth perspective, Pellistri played nearly 2,000 minutes for Manchester United last season. Sorry, no, he didn't. He was in La Liga for some of it. He played about 500 minutes. He played in the Premier League, the Champions League, the FA Cup, and the EFL Cup. So he contributed... not that much, to be fair, but he was still available. He was still an option, and he could play on the right wing and the left wing, and he's obviously now gone. And there isn't anybody who's taken his place. But yeah, I think by the end of the window, the team will be much better. But at the moment, I would say defence, definitely better. Midfield, worse. And the attack, I'd say, is probably the same. Ginge says, Varane leaving is huge. You haven't mentioned that. Before we signed De Ligt, I said that our defence was the same, because somebody asked me this question a couple of weeks ago, and I said that we've signed Lenny Yoro to replace Varane, so our defence isn't better. You know, I said it was the same, but now we've signed De Ligt and we've signed Mazraoui. I think our defence is much better. So yeah, I'm happy with our defence. I think the midfield is the same. There's no argument. Sorry, the midfield is worse. Of course it is. And the attack is... I don't know. Do you honestly think the attack is that much better? Really? I don't think so, personally. I don't think you can honestly tell me that our attack's gone from like here to here. Like, I don't think so. And people keep saying in the comments, the attack is better, the attack is better. What's that based on? Based off what? We've signed Joshua Xerxes, who replaced Martial. Pellistri's gone. So, I don't know. The thing is, right, only time will tell. So, you can only look at it from a squad depth perspective. Our starting 11 is good. I said that before. Our starting 11 is good enough to challenge for the title, I think. Genuinely. And I'm not even joking. You know, our best players, our best 11, if they stay fit all season, I think the sky is the limit. But in reality, that won't happen. Players will get injured. And what happens if Mazraoui gets injured? What do we do then? Because Mazraoui's going to play at right back and Dallow's going to play at left back. What happens then? Malacia's still disappeared. Luke Shaw, God knows when he's going to be back. So if Mazraoui gets injured, then we literally don't have a left back. You know? If Kobe Mainoo gets injured, what do you do then? It's going to be McTominay in that midfield. So, like, my view on Manchester United is this. We've done some amazing business this window. I'm really, really happy. We've got rid of loads and loads of players, surplus to requirements. You know, we've cleared out loads of wages. Like, Ineos have done an incredible job, and I'm really impressed with what they've done so far. But if we get injuries this season, if like we did last year, I think we'll finish in a similar position to what we did last year, because we don't have squad depth. That's the point I'm making here. And I think it's going to take 2 or 3 more windows to get to a position where our bench is like players just as good as the people who are playing, you know? Or maybe not as good, but like you've got people on the bench who are like ready to start and are good enough. Like you look at our bench against Fulham on the weekend, right? Like the drop off was huge. It was people like Eriksen. It was Scott McTominay. It was Johnny Evans. You go from Kobe Mainoo to Eriksen. And no disrespect to Eriksen. Obviously, in his day, Eriksen was an unbelievable player, but I just don't like... There isn't a comparison between Eriksen and Mainoo, is there? Mainoo's 19 and can run constantly, whereas Eriksen just simply can't do that anymore, I don't think. Like, you look at the bench. So the bench against Fulham was this. It was Antonee, Eriksen, Scott McTominay, Toby Collier, Johnny Evans, Altay Bayinda, Matthias de Ligt, who will be starting in the future. So it'll be Maguire probably on the bench instead. Joshua Zirkzee, who will probably be starting. And that was it, you know? So like all we have to do is lose a couple of players and we could be in trouble. But that's why I think we will strengthen before the end of the window. That's why I think we'll buy some more players. Obviously, injuries are inevitable. You can never not get injuries in football. Like, it just happens. It's a contact sport. And it's all now just about managing the game time. And I think the problem Erik ten Hag has is that he probably doesn't trust or know that the players on the bench can play his style of football, you know? Like, they can't press. You know, or like say like they're not press resistant. Like Johnny Evans isn't press resistant. You press Johnny Evans and he kicks the ball long or he kicks it out. Whereas you press someone like Mazraoui or you press de Ligt and they can play through a team. You press Martinez, he can play through a team, you know? So yeah, we'll wait and see what happens. Shabir says if Kobbie Mainoo gets injured, Mount will play. Oh, hopefully. I want to see more of Mason Mount this season. I want Manchester United to show us why they signed Mason Mount, because I just think that was one of the strangest signings we've done in recent history. You know, I want Mason Mount to succeed. I liked Mason Mount when he was at Chelsea. I did, but yeah, I'd be really, really excited to see how Mason Mount progresses. But let's move on from that though. Let's talk a little bit about Manuel Ugarte really, really quickly. So there's some breaking news here coming out from Duncan Castles, who I really like as a journalist. I think he gets some good information. He's talking about Manuel Ugarte here, and he's saying that Manuel Ugarte's agent had a conversation with PSG on Wednesday night, so 2 days ago, about the situation, and saying that apparently United have now started to explore alternative options. He says that Manchester United have explored the option of bringing Frankie de Jong to Manchester United. Barca would be happy to sell him, but salary involved is immense, over 20 million euros a year. I just think that all of these stories are just ways of Manchester United trying to force PSG's hand to sell Manuel Ugarte. They don't want to sell him for less than 60 million euros. We spoke about this on the show yesterday. David Ornstein and Duncan Castles were doing a podcast. They were explaining that the reason why this Manuel Ugarte deal has taken so long is because obviously PSG is owned by Qatar. Qatar aren't happy with Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. Remember, Qatar wanted to buy Manchester United. I know it was branded as Sheikh Jassim, but we all know that it was Qatar who were trying to buy Manchester United, right? And they effectively see it as an ego thing. They see it as we don't want to lose again. We already lost in our bid to buy Manchester United, and now Manchester United have the cheek of coming to us and trying to buy one of our players for less than we want to sell them for. So it literally is just an ego thing, and that's what's held up this deal. I don't know. I still think that Manuel Ugarte will become a Manchester United player. 60 million euros to me seems like a lot of money. I know some people are probably at this point just like, oh, I don't care, just sign him, blah, blah, blah. But it does seem like a lot, I think. I don't know if he's worth 60 million. Only time will tell. Yeah, hopefully Manchester United just get some sort of a deal done, though, because if we can strengthen that midfield, I think it will take us up to a whole nother level. Because at the moment, our midfield is very, very good on the first team perspective, but I think our squad depth in midfield is really concerning. When you think that our squad depth for midfield is McTominay, Eriksen, and that's pretty much it. You know, like if Mainoo and Casemiro get injured, our midfield will be like Eriksen and McTominay. So, yeah. I'd be interested to see whether Man United actually genuinely want Frankie de Jong. I honestly think it's just a way to try and speed up the deal, to try and put a bit of pressure on PSG. And I think it's probably working somewhat. I think that, PSG will start to feel the pressure in the final week of the window. But the only kind of issue that Manchester United have is that PSG don't really need to sell. PSG have got an unlimited amount of money. They've got the full monopoly over the French league. They win it every single season. Like, the only reason they need to sell is because Manuel Ugarte wants to leave because he's been told he's not going to play. Like, and my fear is that PSG would rather not sell him than sell him for less than 60 million, just because that would feel like another loss for them. It would feel like them, being beaten by Jim Ratcliffe again, like they did in the the proposed takeover of Manchester United. And I think that is what's held up this deal. We've been negotiating for Manuel Ugarte since before the Copa America. That started in the middle of June. We've been negotiating with him for about 10 weeks, maybe even longer, right? 10 weeks. He agreed personal terms when the Copa America was on. Fabrizio broke that story saying he's agreed terms, the contract's done, blah, blah, blah. This was literally like 10 weeks ago. And still they're negotiating over 60 million euros. It's just the same over and over and over again. You keep getting people coming out saying, it's close, it's closer than it ever has been, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Fred says, would you play Ugarte as a first teamer or on the bench? I mean, if Casemiro continues the form that he's in, I would probably play Casemiro over Ugarte, to be honest, at the moment. But I would rotate because obviously the problem we have with Casemiro is if you play Casemiro once a week, I think he will be a good player for us this season. If you play Casemiro 2 times a week, then I think he'll probably get injured. I think he'll probably drop off very, very quickly. So yeah, it's a difficult question. I would honestly like Manuel Ugarte and Casemiro to probably have like 50% of the game time each if that was possible. But I don't really know how that is possible, to be fair. So yeah, I think the thing is, right, with Erik ten Hag, he probably won't throw Manuel Ugarte in immediately. He'll probably like slowly bring him in. Let's see what else. We've got over 1,500 people watching live now. We've only got 500 likes though. So if you could do me a little favor and hit the like button, let's try and get to 1,000 likes. And we're only 2 subscribers away from 39,000 now. So if this is your first time watching, please go and subscribe. Let's get to 39k by the end of this video. Somebody in the chat is saying, now your expectation is that we win the league. I'm not sure where you've got that from. I said a couple of minutes ago that our first team, as in the 11 players who can play, the starting 11, is good enough to challenge any team in the Premier League, right? Any of them. We beat Man City in the FA Cup. That 11 players are. Our bench, I would say, is probably like bottom half of the Premier League. Whereas Man City's bench, if they were to start their own team, would probably finish in the top 10. That's the point I'm making here. That, our first team is quality, but I think our depth is still really poor. And all the point I was making is if our team stayed fit all season, I think, you probably could finish in the top 4, you could challenge, etc. But that's not going to happen because we'll probably play Brighton and get 2 injuries and then it will be doom and gloom again. That's just how football is. Some teams manage to stay fit the whole season, but yeah. J19 says, I don't think Ugarte will even play until after the international break. Yeah, that's a possibility. That's a possibility. We've got a super chat coming in here from Carl. He says, if we get Ugarte, we have Collier as a backup CDM. Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't think... I still think that Toby Collier has a massive future ahead of him. I think he has a lot of potential. But I still think, I don't know. I don't want to be negative about him, but like he's only just coming through into the first team. We can't rely on Toby Collier to like perform immediately. It's going to take time, but he's good to have a squad depth. Definitely. The point I'm making is I don't want to throw him in at that age because it could completely ruin his career if it doesn't go well. Al says, why don't we play this Seko Coney guy? From what I've seen, he's going to go into the under-21s. So, yeah. James says, we will not beat Brighton. Lovely bit of positivity this morning. That's good to see. Why not? Why can't we beat Brighton? I want to beat Brighton tomorrow. Anything's possible in football. Anything is possible. Right, let's see what else people are saying in the chat. Stephanie says we relied on Mainu last season. Just because Mainu's come through and is a generational talent doesn't mean that every youth player that comes through is going to be a generational talent, Like, hopefully Toby Collier is the same, but like we can't just say, oh, Mainu was a generational talent, so Toby Collier will be as well. Like, it doesn't, there's no guarantee with that. Hopefully he is, you know? I mean, I would say this, though. If they thought Toby Collier was the same as Mainu, could break through and be a starting player this season, why would they be signing Manuel Ugarte? Why would they have spent 10 weeks negotiating over a 60 million euros deal for someone who effectively is the same profile as Toby Collier? You've got Casemiro, who's not leaving. So if this is Toby Collier's season, right, and he's the new Mainu, and he's going to be starting games every week like Mainu does, why would they be spending 60 million euros on Manuel Ugarte? Like, that, it doesn't make sense. You don't need 3 CDMs, I don't think. But and unless, of course, Casemiro would then leave later on in the window. I mean, that would be the dream, wouldn't it? We sign Manuel Ugarte, he becomes the starting CDM, Toby Collier's his backup, and then we sell Casemiro to Saudi later on in the window. Because remember, the Saudi window's open till October. So there is always the potential that in, September, October, Saudi come in with a massive offer for Casemiro and he leaves. So maybe that's what they're thinking. I don't know. Obviously, we don't know the answer and only time will tell. But at the moment, it looks like Casemiro's staying. So if Ugarte signs, we'll have Casemiro, Ugarte and Toby Collier. Like, Toby Collier is just not going to play, realistically. There's some breaking news coming out here as well, actually, about SEO Con. So the story here is saying that apparently SEO Con will train with the first team. He is considered a player with a huge potential. It says he could be fast-tracked if he demonstrates he can operate at the required level with the seniors. I mean, there you go. That's another CDM there. So he's going to go straight into the first team. Like, he's probably not going to be selected unless he proves himself. But he's going to be given the opportunity from the very, very beginning, this SEO Con guy. 18 years of age, CDM, as I said, widely considered as one of the best up-and-coming CDMs in his age group. So, I mean, if we did that, we'd have SEO Con, Manuel Ugarte, Casemiro, and Toby Collier. We'd have 4 CDMs then. That's mad, isn't it? Last season we had 2, Amrabat and Casemiro, and now we'll have 4. If that's the case, and we get Manuel Ugarte and SEO Con becomes a squad player, I would try and move on Casemiro at the end of the window if we could, because we won't need him. Macmillan says, why are they signing Kone if we've got Collier? That's the point I'm making. I'm not being negative about Collier, right? I like Toby Collier. I think he looks decent, but like, I think he's 20, 21, so he's a little bit older than Mainu. And there's some people who think that he's just going to, play every game this season and all the rest of it. I just don't see it personally. I think the best thing would be to bring in Manuel Ugarte and then let Toby Collier go out on loan for a season. That would be the best option for me if that was a possibility. I think that would be the best thing for his development. Let him go on loan. Let him go and get some experience in the Championship or in a team in the Premier League. For me, that would make the most sense. We have to do what's best for the player. And if we sign Manuel Ugarte, I just don't see Toby Collier playing at all. Like Pellistri didn't play because we signed Antonee. It's a prime example. So, yeah, that's my take on that. But you can let me know what you think. Somebody's saying that Kone's an 8. Every scout report I've said about this Kone guy says he's a number 6. Every single one. So I don't know where you've got he's an 8 from. There was literally an article I was reading yesterday saying that he's the most exciting up-and-coming CDM in the world, blah, blah, blah. You go on Transfer Market, it says he's a defensive midfielder. You look at all of his stats and stuff, it looks like a defensive midfielder. So I don't know. I haven't seen him play before, so maybe you are right. Robert says, who do you think is the backup to Mainu? McTominay, mate, at the moment. McTominay or Ericsson. Or Mount, I guess. One of those. Al says, what is Brighton's midfield like? Will we win the midfield battle against them? I mean, Brighton, as far as I can see, have strengthened quite a lot, haven't they, this window? I don't know how far along they are with, players coming in and stuff. I know they're trying to get Ferdi Kadioglu, which I know has upset some people in the chat. Let's have a little look at Brighton's midfield quickly, because that is the most important bit. And if we win the midfield battle, they did beat Everton 3-0, remember, in the first game of the season. So Brighton's midfield is that's Everton, is Milner and Whiffer. I mean, you'd hope that Manchester United would be able to win that midfield battle there, wouldn't you? Milner and Whiffer. Very physical, to be fair. Their attack, though, their attack is dangerous. They've got Welbeck, Mitoma, Joao Pedro, and Minter. Brighton have got a good side. You know, it's not going to be easy, but I still think we should be winning that game if we have any aspirations of finishing in the top 4 or above. Like, you need to be beating teams like Brighton. I know they're a decent side, but we beat them 2-0 last season away from home and we finished 8th. So, like, yeah, we've got to pick up points there. We can't lose. That's the main thing. We cannot lose against them. Otherwise, the mood will go from here to rock bottom again, won't it? I'm going to end the video here, guys. I will be back at 1:30 for the lunchtime catch-up. Please make sure to smash a like before you go. Let's try and get to 1,000 likes before the end of the video. Also, subscribe to the channel if you are new. As I said, we're literally just about to hit 29,000 subscribers. So please go and do that if you haven't already. Have a lovely day, everybody. Great conversation this morning. I'll be back at 1:30, and I will also be back this evening for a live show as well. So yeah, I'll catch you later. Bye for now. Have a great day. Speak soon.